So like the comment section was an idea that I had last season where we often get responses either via social media or we get people texting us after an episode that are friends that listen to the show. And there's always a question or I wish I could have asked this and you could have answered that while I was listening. This is what I was thinking about, or just responses from, like I said, social media of people, what they gather when they listen or when they watch a clip or whatever, what were their thoughts from it. And so I had the idea to add in a segment called the comment section where we address some of those things, or we're able to, create the dialogue from what you're talking about when you listen, or some of the things that you want to talk about. And so we decided that we were going to end. We didn't know when we were going to shoot this,
Right.
but we always wanted to do an episode that would be catered toward that, like the comment section, questions we've been asked over this season, comments that have come across in the form of a question or stuff like that, DMs, text messages, phone calls, of conversations that have derived from an episode or a topic that we've talked about. And so that's what we said, yo, let's end the season with a full out comment section episode.
All right, well, let's talk about them.
Let's talk about it.
Now, I'm gonna read the first
All right, bet. You got your good reading voice on?
one. I got good
Sometimes you be reading in the beginning.
I do not be hooked on phonics at all.
I'm not hooked on phonics.
I'm very well educated. Thank you.
Doesn't mean that you don't slip and fall on your words sometimes.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Yes.
All right, somebody did ask though. My partner and I are experiencing a mismatch in our sex drives. How do we navigate this difference and maintain a fulfilling sexual relationship?
I feel like that is nature.
Okay.
And men and women generally have different sex drives. And I think the communication around it is always what the issue is. And maybe not necessarily the communication, because I think communication happens. It's having the right language to communicate effectively what that looks like for you. So like to say that we have a mismatch in our sex drives means that one of us wants it more than the other.
Yeah.
One of us may be initiating more than the other. And so my response to that is like, what conversations are being had around it? And typically if it, let's say, because we don't know who is writing these, well, we do know, but it's kind of still supposed to be anonymous. So we don't know if it's a he or a her that's writing this. And so my question would be like, let's say in this scenario, it's a woman and she's saying that her man has a higher sex drive than she does. Typically, and we talked about this in the His Needs, Her Needs episode, as well as the 5 sex needs for men and women, how men often, when it comes to sex, your response is always, I just need it. I need more of it. You don't understand. I got a high testosterone level. And it's like, that doesn't mean anything to us because we don't understand what I just do means.
Yeah.
And so I think it's not necessarily communicating about it, because typically that's the conversation. It's just we never get anywhere with it because I don't know, like we don't have the proper language to articulate effectively what I need to get there.
Yeah, I think they have to identify what the mismatch is, because how I can see it is maybe one does have a higher sex drive than the other. Let's say that he has a higher sex drive than her.
Okay.
And we know this is biological, at this point. But what if he's really trying to communicate that I feel like I'm not wanted as much as I want you?
I mean, how did that make you feel? Like, I know we had that conversation in our premarital counseling and you said something similar. So I guess, now that we have a basis of a perhaps scenario, how, when you felt like, I don't feel like you want me like I want you, like what was that like in your mind? Because I guess now come from the perspective of being that person before.
I think it was a constant mental battle of like, am I putting myself out there but she's not reciprocating? Like, is it me or is it something that I'm not doing? it's a now you start to think of inadequacies. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And if it's directed towards you,
Mhm.
and like, am I doing something wrong? Have I done something? Am I not desirable to her? And then it also gets exhausting on his end, because he's like he's constantly pursuing you, but it's not. It doesn't feel like it's being reciprocated, and that's really what men want. They want
Mhm.
that reciprocation. We want women to become more aggressive, and I think women do struggle with being the aggressor
Mhm.
in that sense. And not to say that we always want somebody to, be
Rip
the
your
aggressor.
clothes off.
You know what I'm saying?
That's like when you text your man 911 and like you come out the bathroom and he already naked, and it's like, how did you even get naked when I just text you 2 seconds ago?
Right. But
It's like, yes.
yeah, we want women to be more honest in that sense. Like, if
And
you
say, I
want it,
want you
say
to.
you want it. You know what I'm saying? And say you want me to. We want to be desired too. We
Mhm.
want to be wanted too, just like women do.
Mhm.
And the thing is, if we stop, then y'all start to feel the same way. Y'all start to blame yourself, or you start blaming us more than we get a whole bunch of shit. Like, you don't like me now. You don't do this and the third, and it's like, no, it's not that.
Mhm.
But I think they have to identify what is the mismatch. What is he not communicating? What is she not communicating?
Yeah, but I think typically the conversation is also around like when a man wants sex, it's like I don't want to call it aggressive, but like you come on to her.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come on to her, it's like in a way that doesn't meet the need of what she's looking for. Like, give me the you look beautiful today. Give me the, I've been thinking about you all day. Bring me home flour. Like, clean the damn kitchen. Take some things off my plate to where I only want to please you. Or, for some people it's paying the bills. You know what I mean? For some people, that's what does it for them. Like, for some individuals, it's keeping your word. So it's like, I think it's also having those conversations around what does do that for you, from him to her. And for her to be able to say, like, because we've had that conversation here on the podcast, we had that conversation at home, and saying, like, for me, in the space that I am in today, my mind is just on so many things at a time, that when you take things off my plate that I no longer have to think about, you no longer have to ask for sex.
Yeah. It's a give and take situation.
It is. And I think depending on their dynamic, we don't know if they have children. We don't know, what their work-life balance is, et cetera, stuff like that. But when you start to think about those things, those are some ways I know. Because I remember after we had the His Needs, Her Needs episode and the 5 Sex Needs episode, I had a lot of my friends that are wives that were like, I had to sit here with my husband because he's saying the same stuff Malk is saying. And I'm like, and I bet you say the same stuff I'm saying. Right. So here we are with the opportunity to communicate and converse past this moment to say, okay, based off of what I've now learned, this is what I need.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Having that real come to Jesus moment.
And then just do it, because I think the other thing is like for women, head, huh? Yeah, sometimes you get into your head, like for women, it's like if you feel awkward initiating sex,
which I think a lot of women do,
which is fact for a lot of us, especially if you grew up sheltered and all that kind of stuff like that. Sometimes it's just about doing it. Like, I don't always mentally, sometimes for me now, it's like, I ask myself, like, when was the last time you did? And so if I know that I can figure out that time and it has been a while, then today just might be that day. You know what I'm saying? Like the other night I was tired as jacks, but I'm like, you know what? Come holler at me on halftime, but make it quick. Like, you need to come quickly and come quickly.
Okay.
You need to get here fast. No, I'm saying, I didn't mean like that, but no, like come to the room like soon, because I'm tired as well. So I also let you know, like, because that's one of the excuses, like, I'm too tired. So I'm letting you know this is the state that I'm in right now. I am exhausted. I've had a long day. I want to go to bed. However, if this is something that you want, you just need to, I said, run, don't walk. That is what the message said. By the time I even finished texting it, he was already in there naked, like I said.
Hey, yo, I cannot with you, yo.
But I think we've been talking a lot about in our household, like self accountability. And so I
Yeah.
can't just say, like, oh, my husband should be the only one initiating, or I had a long day, blah, blah, blah. Like, even in the midst of all of that, how do I serve my
Yeah.
partner?
Yeah, I get that. Well, all right. Hopefully we answered that one.
Right. So the next one says, we have different religious beliefs. It's been causing tension in our relationship. How do we respect each other's beliefs while still maintaining our own?
All right. So this is funny because I wouldn't say religious belief. We didn't have different religious beliefs,
But we grew up in separate denominations.
Yeah, we grew up in separate denominations, and we did things completely different
significantly
than the other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I learned about your denomination,
mm-hmm.
I was immediately like intrigued, like, wow, I didn't know people went to church on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that was a thing. But I never thought about what is life going to be like when we decided to take that step and get married. Like, who's going to choose whose denomination? I just, I naturally didn't think. I knew for me, okay, let's say this. I knew for me, I was not interested in going to church on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That was not my interest. And then when I started, but what I did do is learn more about your denomination to also make a decision.
So you're basically saying I did my research and still
essentially
I felt the same way.
I did my research and I was like, okay, this doesn't really work for me.
That's hilarious.
And it probably won't work for me. But hopefully she will understand. And it's not like you tried to convert me to your denomination, nothing like that. And then I also brought you to my church. So we can talk about each other's background. You grew up what?
I grew up Church of God Seventh Day. This is significantly different from Seventh Day Adventist. And it's like more so like some doctoral things, some traditional things that they do that we don't. I grew up not celebrating Christmas. That's a Seventh Day Adventist individuals. They do celebrate Christmas. It's a whole lot of differing things. And you grew up?
I grew up Baptist, very Baptist.
And so from a religious standpoint, we believe the same thing, but the way that it was taught to us and the different traditions that come with that are different. Our preference, I think one of the biggest things for me was, if that's what God has for us, then he's going to tell you and he's going to tell me. If we were supposed to do some sort of conversion and whatever, I don't think it's meant for the other individual whichever, to make that decision for the other. I think it is a thing where God has to work on your heart for that, because I know people that have married from my denomination that have married people that went to church on Sunday and grew up Baptist or grew up AME, grew up whatever, and they are now Sabbath keepers. It's not because they forced them to, it's because they felt convicted to do that, or that was what their revelation from God was. And so I feel like that's what you have to receive in order for that to happen in any way, shape, or form, is that you have to have that conversation. And I believe that conversion comes from God. That's the only way I think it makes sense to me personally. It was never something that I felt like I was going to press upon you. And you didn't do that with me either. Like we got to go to church on Sunday because that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to raise my kids like that and blah, blah, blah. I think what worked for us, and I got to start saying that now as people think that we're giving end all be all do what we say advice. What we're talking about is only based off of what has worked for us. What worked for us was just being in a flow, because what we started to ask ourselves, because we've attended, because I'm a musician, I lead worship at churches and stuff like that. We've attended plenty.
Yeah, I mean, we should definitely explore that.
We've attended plenty. We've attended churches on Saturdays. We've attended churches on Sundays. And every church that we've attended that I have been an employee of has never been a church that we were willing to be a part of.
Correct.
So for the last, I've been leading worship for 15 years at a church and with you since 2013, 14. No, 2013, because I started singing at your brother's church. That was the only church we actually attended technically together, but it became a job for me. So would you have been there? One, if that wasn't your brother's church, and two, if that wasn't a job for me.
Correct.
You know? And so it took us 7 years to find a church where we felt that this is where we're going to be planted at. It wasn't based on our backgrounds. It wasn't based off of anything. It was based off of when we had to start sitting down and having adult conversations. And this was well into our marriage. I feel like it's probably something we probably should have talked about before we got married, but within our marriage, it started to be, what are we looking for in a church? What do you need and what do I need? And our needs are completely different in that respect.
I think because you said that you wanted to be in an intimate church where the pastor knows your name, that knows you personally, and stuff
and that's
like that.
not even what kind of church we go to right now.
It's really not.
It's a huge church. It doesn't mean that the potential's not there because it's not that many people. Well, at least, it's a lot of people actually.
It is. It's a lot of people.
And it's multi-campus. It's multi-city.
Right.
So you never know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it feels intimate enough.
Exactly. It feels intimate enough that at some point, my pastor or our pastors will probably know us or know of us and stuff like that. It seems as though that. And going to different churches and experiencing churches together, we started to see what we actually wanted in the church and what we didn't want in church.
Mm-hmm.
And
what are some of your things that like I said, we have different needs. So what were some of yours?
How do I say this without being offensive?
You say whatever you need.
No, because we live in Atlanta and things, I don't know. So what I was looking for was, one, do I believe in the pastor?
Mm-hmm.
How was the word?
Mm-hmm.
Also, praise and worship was a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy good singing,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a big thing too.
Mm-hmm.
But also conviction, like do I believe this person
Mm-hmm.
in their conviction? As a praise and worship leader,
Mm-hmm.
and those were many, many questions in many, many churches here in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I believed many were really convicted in what they believed in.
Mm-hmm.
I see,
basically not living like double lives. Like,
yeah,
do you get
and then it's not to be judgy.
It's not, because I 1,000%, like, if we're going to be real transparent, let's talk about it. Like, I've had sex with you and led worship the next day.
Jesus.
No problem. Are we real or are we not?
No, for real.
Because it's like, it's relative. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I've been that person.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? I've been toe up, lit, effed up, and got up Sunday morning because I gotta also go get this check.
Yeah.
They didn't.
But that is the reality of church.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That is the reality, and it's about what can you see it. My thing is, I feel like I was never convicted to a church because I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't believe it. You know what I'm saying?
That's interesting.
No, it's real.
It's interesting because you lived with somebody who lived that life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is always interesting to me because it's like, I'm now curious to, like, did you look at me like, I know I smacked out this morning?
Oh my God. No. I didn't. But that doesn't mean, here's the thing. I didn't think that, but I wouldn't be offended if somebody felt
that.
how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I would, and like I said, it's not to be judgy. It's more so about can I feel comfortable growing and being led by this person?
It's a real thing.
Spiritually.
Like, even like in interviews that I've had, like when I wasn't married, going to interviews is like, so you got a boyfriend, where does he live and where do you live? I feel like that's a very invasive question.
God, they be asking real questions.
I think it's an invasive question.
Business that people don't know.
But that's really how, like, I was at church last week and, I hope our pastors don't listen to this, but when I was at the church that I lead worship at, they were saying they just did an interview with somebody and the person lived with their significant other and they were unmarried. And so they liked them, but they didn't get them a job because of their conviction. So I understand what you're saying. Cause I lied at my first interview when they asked me that, like, because to me, it's like, I said, he got a house, I got a house. You don't got to know that house is the same house.
That is hilarious.
But it's, I mean,
That is-
I couldn't afford to, at the time, I couldn't afford to not get that job. So,
But I also what changes for me is that I know the church business side because
Right.
of you.
yeah.
So there is kind of a bias on my end because I've seen too much. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it all
Mhm. With your own eyes.
with my with my own eyes. I've seen, some of these churches, my God, they business like Fortune 500 companies.
No, for sure.
You know
I
what
mean,
I'm saying?
I mean, it needs to be because people, that's a whole nother story for another day.
Yeah.
But like for me, and you don't care about anybody knowing you. Like Malcolm so the first time I went to Malcolm's church, y'all, it felt like I was in the nosebleeds at an arena.
Yeah, so it is a mega church.
It's a mega, like nobody knows you in this jump for real, like real life. Like nobody even knows you. And we went to this church. I was about to, friend of mine was bringing me into a church that he was starting that's out in Conyers. And we end up going there. You talking to the bishop and he was like, yeah, he was talking about somebody. He was like, oh yeah, his mentor was your pastor.
My pastor at home.
At
yeah.
home. And he was like, oh, I'm gonna send him your picture. I said, that nigga ain't gonna know who you are.
Gonna know who I am.
Like,
met him, but he don't know me.
He don't know you.
He don't know me.
And he's gonna be like, yeah, I met one of your guys from
One
your
of your
church.
guys.
Gonna send a whole picture of y'all together. And I can guarantee the bishop probably was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
I don't know who that is.
Know
But that's, I think because you grew up like that, it doesn't become a thing that you need community. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
I didn't need like the knowing of my pastor knowing me and him praying directly over me. I didn't need that.
Yeah, so for me, I'm significantly different. I grew up in a family church where like there's a multitude of families in this place. And so for me, but I don't think that's all I need. I wanted a place where I felt like I go here.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a place that was very intentional about marriage. Because every church I've ever been to that I have led worship at, they didn't have a marriage ministry. And I'm like, this is a part of my life. So how are you going to be pouring into couples, especially when you go to a church that's full of married people?
Yeah.
How do you not have a couples ministry? You know what I'm saying? Churches will have a children's ministry, but you're not poured into your couples.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And they make these kids.
Right, exactly.
And so it's like marriage ministry was really, really huge for me because I think just in the state of business that we're in and as entrepreneurs and stuff like that, like there's not a lot of pouring back into us from a marital standpoint. We've had mentors and stuff like that for business. We've had mentors for communication and all the kind of stuff like that, leadership, but we have never had mentors for marriage. And I think that's something that pastors and churches can provide. So for me, that was a non-negotiable. Like I need my pastors to be in love with each other and display that by teaching us what that looks like. I mean, our pastor's been married for 23 years?
Mm-hmm.
22, 23 years. So put me on game.
Yeah.
Because I'm only going into year 5. Show me how to get to 22.
Yeah, no, that's right. I
beyond.
think to answer the question, then I think we're alluding to that you have to decide what's important for you individually and what's important for you all together collectively before deciding what's important for you to indoctrinate your family into and grow your family. So
basically essentially saying that might not necessarily be in either of your denominations.
Exactly. It might not be either. Right?
We're not in a church that's a part of either.
Right.
We found something that works. They have roots and they have roots of mine. Like literally
hers too. My
guy brother who grew up the same way I did is the musical director.
Yeah. So it's,
yeah.
Is it my turn? Yes.
It's your go. I just did.
All right. So this person said, bro, I've been in a monogamous. Wow.
Did I not say that? Did I say it? Okay.
He said, bro, I've been in a monogamous relationship for years, but I'm curious about exploring non-monogamy. How do I approach this conversation with my partner?
We said bro, so
Woo.
Tell him, bro.
Tell him, bro. This is deep. I think so. Yeah, they've been in a monogamous relationship for years, and I think he's saying he's curious, but I don't think he has to act on the curiosity. But he's obviously asking because now he wants to bring this to this person. He wants to bring it to the forefront. And I think he does have to be honest about having a conversation. You know, here's the thing. You're going to have to be ready for whatever repercussion.
That's what I was gonna say.
You know what I'm saying? That comes with that. But I will say to that, so you can touch on that. I'll say to that I want you to look at this on the other foot.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes for us, for men, we can act in selfish behavior,
Mm-hmm.
not understanding that you're just trying to get your need met.
Right.
But what about the need of your partner?
Right.
And I want you to put your mind on the other foot and be like, okay, if this was her coming to me with this curiosity, how would I handle this? How would I want it
exactly.
to be?
She for the streets, and I would never be back with her, and blah blah blah. The same double standard stuff that always happens.
It's 100% double standard.
But is that a man thing though? Like because you guys are
yes.
physical beings and all this stuff like that. Like, is it? I think I've heard one. Let me not say it was one of your friends because I don't want they wives be listening to this be like, was it you?
Oh Lord.
But
Jesus.
I'm saying I feel like I remember hearing somebody say like it's not natural for a man to be with one woman. Is that true?
I think natural. I would say I don't think it's natural, but discipline is what makes that natural. You know, It's not what makes it natural. It's what makes it worth it, and also how you do it. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't get all. I think somebody said, you know, in a podcast I was listening to or whatever it was, they said it would take 20 minutes to populate the entire earth. That's how much sperm men have.
Jesus Christ.
So just by that definition alone, it obviously doesn't sound like we were biologically made for one, you know, but if you're talking about having values and principles and things like that, that's when that stuff comes into play. And do you need multiple partners? No, you don't. That's the reality. You don't need it. So just because your makeup suggests that you don't have to, doesn't mean that you need to do what your makeup is telling you to do.
I would be curious as to what you are looking for in letting go of monogamy.
Right.
Because you know what I'm saying? Is it like, are you already entertaining something that makes you feel like I want to let you know that this is what I want to do? Because something, or have you seen it? Are you? I would be curious as to who your friends are, because the people around you make a difference. If you're, let's say, a married man, and all your friends are still single, they still outside, they telling you about this one and that one and this one and that one and this one and that one, and you're like, damn, I still gotta go home to the same old, been hitting the same jump for years and blah blah blah. I'm sick of this. I'm bored. I would wonder if he married a virgin. Like, if he married as a virgin, not didn't marry a virgin, did he marry as a virgin? Because I sometimes believe, this is just my own personal theory, I've had this theory for years, but that, you know, sometimes like waiting increases curiosity once you open Pandora's box. So it's like, if I wait till I'm married, does that now make me wonder what I missed because now I'm locked into my marriage? These are the things that I would be curious about. But you do have to be, whatever I would say, buddy, you got to be prepared for what that looks like. Because what if she says, all right, bet.
Yeah.
You know, and what if if you're not married and she was just a girlfriend, like, what if she was the one? What if she was the one that was like, who God made for you to literally multiply, elevate your life?
Right.
But because you don't want that right now, or
100%.
you know, or how men always say, you're the one, you're wifey
Just not right
material,
now.
just not right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so what if she's the one that God has literally made to elevate your entire life, but because of this one moment or this season of, maybe you're dealing with some stuff, maybe you sexually deprived, whatever it could be, that you're about to miss out on everything that you really supposed to have for a moment of pleasure. Right. And so I think, like, I don't think people think often And it works for some people. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the thing is, it works for some people. Some people
It does.
thrive in marriages like that. Some people thrive in their relationships like that. That don't work over here,
And
but
I think people come to that agreement before they even come together. They
Right.
like they're in that lifestyle. They're into that lifestyle and have an agreement before they even decide to make any commitment to that person.
yeah, because
So
I
in
think
this
if you bring that
context,
up
you
later
coming-
on, it's
yeah.
like
He bringing this to the table now after
I-
you've already been in a committed relationship.
I have many
this
questions
is about to throw a monkey wrench for
because
sure.
I need to know where this is coming from or what has preluded to this.
Yeah, because we would need more context, obviously, because are you married? One, are you not married? That changes that dynamic too. But then again, like I said, if the shoe's on the other foot, can you take the same conversation? And how would you want that conversation presented to you? Because 9 times out of 10, that's exactly how you need to be presented.
The perfect example, right, is if y'all watch The Chi.
Okay.
And what's Buddy's character? And he had all the babies, and he was cheating on his girl for forever, and then he got married to her. The dude that owned the restaurant.
Drawing a blank.
He was with Lala.
Oh, you talking about Jacob Lattimore?
Yes. So his character is basically like consistently in relationships, but consistently cheats on that woman. Then he decides to get married after he cheats again and cheats while married.
Yeah.
And then when his wife now says, I want to have let me experience what you're experiencing. And she starts sleeping with another dude and staying over his house and late at night and all that stuff. And he was getting a taste of his own medicine. Now it's, oh, I don't want this no more. I just want to be fully committed to you. And so, like you said, like if the shoe was on the other, because it was all fun and games when it was you and you was stepping out on your relationship consistently, no problem.
Yeah.
But when she decides to show, and she didn't do it to show you, she said, let me see what this is so good. What is so good about it not just being me?
Yeah.
Let me peep game.
Yeah, he was not ready for it.
He wasn't ready.
He thought he couldn't. And the thing is, he agreed to because he thought he could handle it. And eventually he obviously couldn't. Psychologically, his ego, we come with a whole bunch of other things that I don't think you can handle that. And for him, he owes that person the respect to be honest and have that conversation and allow them to, decide.
Yeah.
And if they go, they go. If they don't, they don't. But at least she was honest. And then if you go on that route, the next person kind of, have that conversation before it's you know what I'm saying?
Right. And I think that's the real thing about it is like, as a woman, because I know this is a dude, because he said bro to you, my thought is this. Before you cheat on me, before you step out on me, me and Malcolm have had this conversation in our relationship, in our marriage. If you want out, go. Tell me so I can go live my life and we can move accordingly to that. But don't cheat on me. Like, give me that respect to tell me ahead of time so I'm not blindsided. One thing my daddy always said is, I don't want no secrets. Like, don't let me find nothing out. Tell me. Tell me what you want. Okay. So this question says, my partner and I are dealing with financial infidelity. How do we build trust and transparency back in our relationship?
That's a good question because
Financial infidelity.
Obviously, somebody. I've heard of a couple. They was doing well financially, and this dude didn't know that his wife was spending $30,000 to $100,000 a month on credit card. In credit card debt.
$100,000.
Yes, they were doing obviously well financially, but he had no idea she had this credit card on the side.
Jesus Christ.
You know what I'm saying? And was swiping like crazy. I don't even know what you was buying that you could hide from him. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, and when he found out what she was doing, obviously he filed for divorce. But that's an example of financial infidelity. How do you gain trust back? I think, I had a conversation with a friend about them feeling like their money, this person's money is their money, this person's money is their money. And I told him that it's always gonna be a constant battle if you come to the table with that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got married as to be as one.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you're not your own person, but there's a lot of things that decisions that have to be made, or decisions that you're gonna make in your life, that it takes both you all
Mm-hmm.
as a team to make. And when it comes to finance, I told them, one, to gain the trust back, let's eliminate the separate bank accounts and join one bank account. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Get one joint bank account. And not to say you only have one bank account, but you need to have a primary account that's you all's account.
Mm-hmm.
Because now it doesn't become a separate entity. You don't become just an individual, like, this is my money, this is my money, because that's where you will see problems arise financially in your marriage, and where you'll have this possessive mentality over things. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the advice I gave them, and I would give to the same person. You know, if you trying to rebuild trust, it's only one way to do it. It is by let's put it all out on the table. Put it all on the table, put it together, and understand each other's financial habits.
I think that's a big one.
You know what I'm saying?
And sometimes I think those go overlooked because money conversations are just so difficult to have. They're
they are.
awkward. People don't want to talk about the realities of finances. I was one of those individuals, like, I like to talk about it when all is well. I don't ever want to talk about it when you asking me questions about it. We were just talking about with just the inflation rates and like the price of groceries and how much like real life. The reason for my desire for increased wealth, besides being able to live abundantly, take care of my legacy, our family, and being able to be generous to others, is to have a private chef. The reason I say that is because the mental fortitude and the mental capacity it takes to think about what to eat wears my soul out. The mental capacity it takes to think about multiple meals, not just multiple multiple meals a day for multiple people with different tastes and appetites, wears my soul out. And so I say that to say, oftentimes, we had to have a conversation recently in regards to the amount of money that we're spending on food because of the lack of desire to do that. So now that result, because just my mental capacity isn't there to think about that consistently, that results in the amount of times that we're eating out. And then when we're not eating out, the amount of times we're buying groceries in bulk, or how many times that we go to the grocery store this week. And so those are uncomfortable conversations for me, because I'm like, all these different things, and you don't think it adds up to the numbers that it adds up to, especially in inflated rates that we're in today. And so just because it's an uncomfortable conversation or something, because it's like, my response could be, but we got to eat.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we do, but do we have to eat this way? You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a point in time when we were going to restaurants where dinner was going to cost us $300 to $400 every time we ate for two.
Yeah.
How sustainable is that over time, where it's like, yes, we like this. This is the quality of life that we prefer. This is the quality of taste that we prefer, but we don't have to do this all the time.
Right.
And so I think it's being honest and understanding, like you said, financial habits. One of my financial habits when we first met was to reward myself for the hard work I did. I worked hard. I'm going shopping. I worked for this money. I'm going shopping. It didn't matter the amount. It didn't matter how much I got paid. I felt like that was my right. But I was great at saving. Mm-hmm. So I always had money, but I always gave myself an allotment to spend. And I would have had more money saved if I didn't do that. Or I was relative about that. You were an individual that was very, you're a saver. You're a planner. You're a, let's make this make sense. Let's budget this out. Let's blah, blah, blah. To me, I didn't want to do that. However, because that's your habit and this is my habit, because we know those things, we're able to make adjustments, compromises, and have different conversations when money changes. How do we respond? I was never a response person to money changing.
Mhm.
I was never that individual. If money changes, we stay the same. My husband is not that person. Anything that changes, we need to have a contingency plan. I don't care how we live in. I don't care what we have. What is the contingency plan? Because a lot of people have pride and ego that leaves them in a place worse off than they were when they needed to make those changes.
Yeah.
And so when you have financial conversations, you understand each other's financial habits, then you can build financial stability and a foundation, because we know what we doing. And I think that separate bank account thing, I don't know if that's a millennial thing. I don't know how people do that, because I don't want to have to ask you, what are you doing with your money? I don't want to have a conversation say, where is your money, or what's your money going to, or you supposed to be paying this and you supposed to be paying that, and your money now goes to this. And like, I can't do that. I think it's easier when it's like, all right, this is your money, this is my money, it goes into this pot. From that pot, it goes to these different places, because we've always had our own spending accounts, but it comes from the melting pot of all the money in the first place to now go to our separate spending accounts. Those are the things we don't talk about.
I think, and I think it needs to be an established leader role between you two, of who in what capacity and who is more equipped at this moment to take the lead in, whether it's your finances, whether it's bill paying, whatever it is. You know,
my husband does not pay bills. You don't? Do you know what the bills are due?
Hell no, I do not. I definitely don't.
That's
not my
thing.
thing. That's not my. That's
if it was up to
my
Malcolm,
thing.
all of us would be cut off.
God, I should be cut off. I'll be forgetting stuff. Oh dang, what was that joint?
Literally,
I forget all the time.
We paid car insurance today. If you care.
Definitely didn't know. Had no idea. It's today. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. Like you got to understand and establish separate roles with each other, and I think you'll see a significant difference. So,
and for the person that was infidel, the person that did whatever with the money, I think it's also important to have the conversation around why you did that or what that was really about. Because I think getting insight into the reason for it versus me just knowing it occurred, I think also helps, because I think that's where we can start to have dialogue in regards to what we're going to do moving forward.
Yeah. All right. So this next person, they said, because y'all talk about finances all the time, and I want to get y'all's take on this. Is it better to buy or rent a home in today's market, given the current economic climate that we're going through?
I don't know, because we trying to figure out the same. Real talk, like, you know, at the time that I just think things are so ever changing. You know, one of our conversations recently is like, because, you know, the thing about these leases is like they always come to an end and you always have to make another decision. I think that's the thing about leasing. Like they always will end. There's no infinite lease out here. And because of that, you're always having to consider, what am I going to do next? Am I going to renew this? The price is going to go up regardless. Some way, some shape or form, it might not be significant, but it's going to go up. So your price is going to change, but it's going to end again. And then it's like, if I do get into another lease, but I do start my home buying process, how do I get out of my lease? We've always ended up in that situation where like our lease was too long. Even when we wanted to move into another apartment or another rent lease, we were always in a long lease.
I think, so I'll answer this two ways. One, I'll answer by asking a question. Is the American dream still home ownership? Is it still home ownership? I want you to think about this, the person that asked this question, because how I see it is, buying a house that you live in isn't necessarily the asset that you think it is, just because you're the one taking the debt. And I want people to think about it like this. In any transaction, someone's getting paid. So if someone's giving you a house and a mortgage to pay, who's actually getting paid in the deal? Who actually has the incentive? Who actually is coming out a winner? There's winner and losers and everything. Because I'm a trader, I understand that if somebody wins, that means somebody lost. And I want you to think of it just in that sense, transactionally. If the government owns the banks and the banks own the homes, who essentially owns it? Is it you? Is it the banks? Or is it the government? Well, let's think of it like this. Your rent does go up over time, obviously, because of inflation and things like that. But so can your mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you pay your mortgage off, you still have to pay property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Property taxes will never go away. If you don't own the land, you'll always pay property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing. It can always be taken from you
Mm-hmm.
by government or the banks. So is it truly your asset? And then if you have equity in it, the equity is monopoly money. So you don't essentially have the equity until you actually make the sale and you sell it one day. So when I'm not saying that to not buy a home, I'm saying that to look at everything in its totality. Look at pros and cons from renting, look at pros and cons and buying, because they all have their pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, what makes more sense for you financially in your strategy going forward to build wealth for your family?
No, I agree. And I think that's the conversation we're having. Like, before, I think we talked about it last episode or one of them, but before our whole home buying situation kind of fell through, the next conversation, like we took a weekend getaway. My parents came to town, watched Kaden, and we took a weekend getaway to really just kind of sit and talk, plan, like what do the next 5 years look like? And because that didn't work out in that sense, what is our home ownership time frame? Yeah. Because I think for us, Malcolm and I are very quick hitters when it comes to moving. It's like, oh, I like this, we're out. Oh, yeah. I like this, let's break this lease, we're out. It's ever going. And so for us, we really do have to be extremely intentional, meticulous, and calculated on purchasing a home, because we have been like that for years. Like we've been living in Atlanta for 7 years this year, and this is what our 5th place we've lived at. 5 places in 7 years. That means that we have a consistent desire or boredom, or I no longer like this space, or this space doesn't accommodate our family anymore, or this space isn't financially accommodating, this space is too little, this space is too old. It's always ever changing for us. And so when it comes to purchasing a house, it literally has to be the house. Like it doesn't have to be, for me, it has to be the dream house. For him, it's like, what's wrong with a starter home? And I'm like, are we going to be bored in 2 years and knowing us, and I think I think self accountability and couple accountability is something that is not talked about, enough to say we know us enough to know that this is not as simple as just going to buy a house. Correct. For us. Because we know us. Yeah. And even now when we're talking about, okay, this lease is coming to an end, what is the plan? Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm like, yo, I wanted this to be the last lease. I wanted to go into home ownership. But now with the rates and inflation and just how life is moving, is just kind of being real with yourself and saying, am I putting myself, is that financial suicide right now?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm about to say, because this person asked this question because you'd be surprised how many people are house poor. You'd be so surprised because people only see the mortgage and they don't see everything in its totality of what comes with financing a home. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because now you can't call nobody if something call breaks. Maintenance. And you understand, if you understand how things are made today, things are made to break today. Nothing is made and lasting for when we
moved into every place that we've lived since 2020 we have been the first tenants in them. Yeah. When we moved into our townhouse, why are lights coming out in my closet, in the stairwell? The flooring is coming up. We the first, and we're not rough on things. Yeah, I can't even. The ceilings are 12 feet. I can't touch the lights. Mm-hmm. How are they falling out? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Oven not working. The AC unit was stuck on freezing. Then the upstairs unit went out, and now we hot. Like you can't and you know how long it took them to come and fix this stuff.
Yeah, no,
and this is forever. With them them being the landlords. It took them forever to try to fix that. So now you're talking about you being you, and then it's like just with the way the world is too. It's like how fast are people coming out to actually take care and handle your situations?
Yeah, it's a real conversation that you gotta have with yourself, because there's nothing wrong with renting. There's nothing wrong with owning a home. You can have a different strategy. We've even talked about different strategies right now of being in the game, because you gotta think about it. The best investors have four things in their portfolio. Mm-hmm. So when people talk about diversification, having 20 different things in their portfolio, I mean that could be a good thing, and it also be very, very risky. But when you talk about just getting yourself in the game and having real estate as part of your portfolio, don't come to homeownership if you're trying to be a homeowner as an investor mindset. You got to really be thinking about, all right, this is my home. I'm not thinking about it like an investor. Or you can come into it like an investor and be like, okay, let me get a home, single family home, multifamily home, whatever it is, rent it out and rent where I live and use that money towards paying my rent off, or every month, or cash flow, whatever it is, whatever strategy you decide to take. There is many different avenues. You just got to start thinking about which one that makes best sense for you. So hopefully that helped.
That was a good answer.
Yeah.
How can I find and pursue passion in life while still having to pay bills and meet responsibilities?
So this person is trying to decide whether they should follow their passion and still have stability. It's crazy because I was having this conversation with a friend, but it's kind of in a different scenario in a sense, because they're in their passion, but they also are looking for their spouse to find their passion. And I was telling you, I was like, when you, and we don't have a lot of context with this question because we don't know if they're married, have kids, and things like that.
I'm going to assume that they at least have some sort of responsibility, because they said I have to still maintain the lifestyle that I have, pay bills, and I have to meet my responsibilities. So that could be they have kids. Kids might not live with them, but they have something where they feel like, obviously I have to be considerate of all things.
And it's surely a millennial because they want to follow their passion.
We love our passions.
We love following our passions, and not all the time our passions are profitable. And it's not to say
that is a fact.
It's not to say that it can't be, but there is a process of being profitable in anything. And I don't want this person, and I don't want us in general, to have the naivety of thinking that if I follow this, I'll make enough soon enough that I'll be able to pay all my bills. So you have to be thinking about your stability. There's nothing wrong with taking care of your responsibilities. There's nothing wrong with being an adult and understanding that I have to have something stable. I have to be doing something stable enough in order to sustain my own life,
or have a stable partner.
Or have a stable partner. And that's what I was telling my friend. I was saying like be grateful, because there always has to be somebody in a relationship that can provide stability while the other one can take risks, and vice versa, because that may change throughout the course of your relationship too. But it's important, especially if you're trying to follow your passion, you're trying to get to the next level, you're trying to do these things. As long as you and your spouse have an okay and understanding that there's going to be stability somewhere, you have the autonomy to take risks.
Correct.
And I was telling this person, like don't be so hard on your partner, saying like, man, like I don't think this person is growing. I think they need to be doing such and such. And I'm like, but you've been doing what you've been doing for over a decade. You know what I'm saying? You've been knowing what you wanted to do, and you're just now getting your stride. This person is in a whole different realm in their life, but what they do bring is stability to your household. And you want to be careful, because you don't want to diminish that. So same in this aspect. Take care of your business. Be responsible, sustain yourself, but that doesn't mean that you can't pursue your passion on the side.
I think it's important to ask yourself, is your passion profitable? Because
it's a real conversation to have.
Is your passion profitable? Because sometimes we want to pursue passion, but we're uneducated or unaware of how people make money with this passion. So for me, I went to school for music, right? I went to school for vocal performance. And one thing my friends and I talk about is how school didn't equip us to make money. Which a lot of people could say that for a lot of their majors, but in particular, it's like, so I'm spending all this time learning how to master my craft of my voice, but I don't know now how to go market that. And so we learned that in the field. We learned how to do that by just taking risk and enjoying life. And a lot of my friends are now paid musicians, paid singers, and working at very, very high levels. But like you said, individuals that have been doing, I was in college, I graduated from college 10 years ago next year, 10 years ago next year. So if you're talking about, if you add on 4 more years to that, that's 14 years that now we would have been doing those things. So like you said, so it's like asking yourself, is your passion profitable? And I remember I was talking to you one time, where I was like, yo, I love music so much. And because I wasn't in the industry at the time, but I had the money to pursue the passion. And I remember like, y'all want to put together like a tour, or like I want to be an executive producer on my friend's album and just be the investor behind it. And your response was, yeah, but how do you make money? And I had no answer for that. He was like, it sounds like a great opportunity. It sounds great that that's what you want to provide people with, but how does that make money? And that was a moment where I had to actually look at it and say, just because it's something that I enjoy doing doesn't mean that it is a profitable thing to do. I remember talking to one of my friends, and they had just put out a music video. He told me about how much the video cost, and I was like, how much did you make from that? And they made money, but it wasn't from what they just spent the money on. They made money in a different arena. And so it's really asking yourself, like, although you want to pursue your passion, is that passion profitable? If you want to be a master dog walker, well, do you have the time capacity to walk these dogs?
Yeah.
Or do you want to teach people how to walk dogs effectively? You know what I'm saying? Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of people talk about gurus, and with I guess the podcast is an epidemic now too. People think podcasting is the new Forex. You know what I'm saying? People have a lot to say about podcasting, but I think it's understanding that education is actually the highest thing you can do for income. And people look at that and like, oh, they want to be a guru, or you've been doing this for a little bit of time and now you want to teach people. Now I have my thoughts in regards to that too. I do think you need, some tenure under your belt, before just feeling like the way that there are a lot of people that make their money by teaching people how to make money. These are facts. But the reason why people are able to do that and get away with it, because somebody would say, how do you get away with that? The reason why people are able to get away with it is because they understand that educating people is the highest form of compensation. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are going to pay to learn. At the end of the day, more people are going to pay to know how to do what they want to do. And so if you understand that, that's just the lane that you can be in. If you're not if like entertainment takes a lot longer for people to get into to become profitable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Everything that we just talked about, the 2 individuals we just talked about, myself included, my first paid gig in the entertainment world was the Grammys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've been doing voice. Like I said, if I go all the way back to college, I've been studying voice since I was 17 years old.
You got a whole degree in vocal.
I got a whole degree in that. I'm 30. That's 14 years that I was doing that to get my first pay. Now, granted, I wasn't in the industry. I'm sure I could have done that a lot sooner. You know what I'm saying? But that's not the point. Is your passion profitable? That's the biggest question to ask yourself before you consider just jumping, because that's what we as millennials do. It's like, when I think about something or I believe in this so much, I don't take time to consider if it makes sense as a passion project or a profitability project. A passion project is cool. I have things that I just want to do that I don't have to get paid from. And I think, hell, millennials, we don't have hobbies no more. Yeah. Everybody's trying to make money from the passion. It's like, why you just can't be passionate about something and do that because it makes you feel good?
I was about to say,
you about to go be a bodybuilder just because you like to work out?
No, not at all. And I think that's the come to Jesus moment this person has to have, is that, am I willing to start a business with this, with this passion, or am I okay with seeing where this passion goes and takes me? If it takes me on a journey of being profitable, that's fine. But I am still being responsible with myself. So
yeah. And if you want to follow your passion, keep your job.
That too. Yeah.
That's the part. And Malcolm has said this before you leave your job, y'all, Whatever that passion is or the business that you're building needs to have been making you for a period of time
Yeah.
3 times what you make on your job. Don't get $10,000 one time and think that's enough.
Yeah, we've seen this. We've been in this game. We've seen it. We've seen the casualties. We've seen it all. So just a
Don't be
word
your own
of
casualty
wisdom.
before you even get started.
Words of wisdom for you.
All right, what do you want to do? One more?
I guess we could do one last one.
All right, you hit it. Let's knock it out.
Which one should we do? Let's see. All right. What should I do if I feel like I'm losing myself or my independence in a relationship, and how can I ensure that I maintain some sense of self, even while still being a supportive partner?
Find a hobby. Find a hobby. I think in the day and age where people work from home, they build businesses with their partners, their parents, their spouses, their friends. Go find your thing. When Malcolm and I first met, we both had our own things. We were attached to the hip relatively, like in the sense of I have my thing, you have your thing. We have each other, and now we're supporting each other in those separate things. When we moved to Atlanta, he was working, I was building a business, but once he left his job, we are literally building a business together, building our relationship to the next level, getting married, starting like everything we were doing, we were always together. And truth be told, people won't say this, but that shit is tiring. Being together all the time gets old. And so I think when you feel like you're losing yourself in the relationship, it's because you have nothing to do for yourself. And I think it's really, really important to find what that thing is that's independent of that other person. And it's important for them to find a thing that's independent of that other person. When you start to add in, children and businesses and church and all that, you know what I'm saying? I know somebody that literally lives with their partner, does church with their partner. If they get a gig, they got to get their partner on the, like, dang, you ain't tired of seeing me yet. Mm-hmm. They work together. Like it's like the regular job is together. Like you got to get some space. Because I feel like over time, like you don't want to feel like, I like being labeled as Malcolm and Brittany Garrison, but I don't want to be forgotten as Brittany Garrison.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the whole, let's talk about the Grammys again. Like it was like, I want you there because I'm used to you always being with me. Mm-hmm. And you were like, but it's okay for you to go do your thing by yourself. I'm gonna be right here watching, recording. It's gonna be me and your son. I might host a watch party. Like, do your thing.
I had to learn that. Like, it is okay to have something outside of your spouse, and it's actually needed. It's 100% needed. Mm-hmm. Like you said, find a hobby, find an interest, have an interest that has nothing to do with your partner, or a skill set that you may have that your partner has nothing to do with. Because like you said, that person is a musician, their partner is probably a musician in the same skill sets. Mm-hmm. And you know what I'm saying? So it's hard to shift out of that. Like, no, find a place that you can do and go and be, and people know you for that person, mm-hmm. for you, and not just you as a duo.
And I think sometimes you feel like you lost yourself because you don't have anything else to talk about but what we already both know. Yeah. And so my husband, y'all don't know this, but you'll probably find out eventually. He is it a nerd? Like,
I'm a historian.
Yes.
I'm a historian.
He is a historian.
100%. I am definitely a nerd. You know what I'm saying? I don't care.
My baby,
I like to learn, y'all.
I'm like, you want to watch a movie, and Malcolm's 1,000% going to pick a documentary or a docuseries. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I guess we'll sit here and I'll go to sleep, because that's just not my vibe. Music though, I'm going to sit and just watch. Oh my gosh, watch this and watch this concert, watch this show. Let's do this, blah, blah, blah. They like, okay, cool, whatever. Yeah. And so we have our different things, but I know what my husband is driven by. I know what he's passionate about. So although sometimes my check engine light might come on when he's sharing something to me, it's even having to be intentional with my listening skills.
No, definitely.
Might be like, did I lose you?
No, you listen, I know damn well I'm talking over your head right now. She's like, oh yeah.
Like when he talked about the whole thing about real estate, that he told me that before. We had this whole, when he talked about when we did our planning, he told me that, and I was like, oh Matt, wow, we're gonna have to revisit this in a few minutes.
Right,
give my brain a breather.
It was a lot, and it's, she don't study it. I do.
He does, but I love that for him. You know, and I'm intrigued by him for it, if that makes sense. Like, but if you watch I know he likes documentaries, so I might find you one on a musician,
right? Because I like this. I like the story. I want to know what's up.
So like, okay, cool. My happy medium to connect with you in that moment with your thing and my thing is, all right, cool. Can I do it can we go watch something about, like we watched the Lizzo documentary.
Yeah, the Lizzo. Yeah, that was a good one.
And I was like, dang, that was fire. But so it's like finding a thing, your thing, my thing. And then you might find a way to meet that thing in the middle sometimes. He likes basketball. We watched the Jordan jump.
Yeah.
Plenty of that stuff like that. So go find your thing.
Yeah, this has been another one. This has been the season finale.
Another episode, another season. I can't believe we've done 3 seasons. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's whole 3 seasons, man. Season 4.
It's loaded. Woo! Season 4, it has a lot of things to tell y'all.
Yeah, we're gonna more stories, more lessons, more guests. I think it's gonna be dope.
What was your life lesson from this season?
This season, life be lifing. It's okay. Things don't always have to be in your control. Learn to adapt. Become more skillful. I've learned that life has its ebbs and flows, and it's important to have somebody that you can go through those ebbs and flows with. But even if you don't have somebody, to find therapy or to find a place to kind of get your thoughts out and hear a different perspective. And I think this season we touched on a lot of different topics. I think we started a lot of different conversations. We absolutely went viral a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
From things and clips, man. Y'all have to understand this. There were women that was burning me at the stake.
Oh my gosh!
Earlier this season,
and there were plenty of people.
Edits. You know what I'm saying? Not even the whole conversation, but edits that came out. So I had to learn that people have their opinions, and that was the whole point of this podcast. People to share their opinions, share their perspectives, and be okay with that. And I'm completely okay with that. I'm it is what it is.
I think that was eloquently said. I think I'm going to just second that notion. That was good.
Yeah,
I agree. So season 4 is loading with a ton of more conversations. I think one of my favorite parts of the season was being able to help start developing language for conversations, for the people to be able to say what they need to say to their partners or to their friends or to their businesses, being able to develop the language, because communication is so complex. It's like I feel like I'm saying this stuff, but because it's coming from a different perspective, or it's being said, the same stuff is being said in a different way, that I feel like I'm able to articulate more effectively to be able to share with people what I need to, so we can all grow. And that's one of the goals for the podcast. That's the reason why we started the show, is be able to help put language to people's conversations and to be a conversation starter for people's lives. So this has been another episode. This has been another season of the So Let's Talk About It podcast. I am your co-host, Brittany.
And I'm Malcolm.
And you can follow me at Brittany Donnell.
You can follow me at Malcolm_2_Garrison.
And you can follow the show at So Let's Talk About It Pod. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, share, like, tell a friend, and we will see you guys next season.
Peace.